This is one of the most valuable teams in the National Hockey League. Welcome to WatchMojo.com, and today we'll be continuing our series of the most successful sports franchises with a look at the Toronto Maple Leafs.
3 seconds, 2, 1, the game is over. The Toronto Maple Leafs have won the Stanley Cup.
Toronto's reputation as a hockey town predates the establishment of the National Hockey League in 1917. Toronto became one of the original 6 NHL clubs with a team that went by many monikers. From the Arenas to the St. Patrick's, they finally settled on the Maple Leafs in 1927. Maple Leaf Gardens opened November 12, 1931, with a 2-1 loss to the Chicago Blackhawks. However, the club went on to win its 3rd Stanley Cup that season, led by legendary coach Dick Irvin. The NHL's first All-Star game was held by the Maple Leafs on February 14, 1934, to honor their player Ace Bailey, who had nearly died when Boston Bruin Eddie Shore checked him into the boards earlier that season. At the end of the 1939-1940 season, Coach Irvin left the team to revive the Montreal Canadiens. They saw their bitter rivals win in 1944, 1946, and again in 1953, before winning a record 5 consecutive cups under Irvin's successor, Toe Blake. Meanwhile, the Leafs didn't do too badly after Irvin's departure. The club took home the cup in 1942 and 1945, from 47 to 49, and again in 1951.
Down the ice goes Sweeney Shriner with a puck, then passes it to Kennedy, who rifles it in the cage to win the Stanley Cup and the championship of the world.
Then they hit a rough patch, not winning again until 1962. Some labeled this drought the Barilko Curse, after the mysterious disappearance of defenseman Bill Barilko. The Leafs-Canadiens rivalry saw the 2 Canadian squads win every single cup between 1962 and 1969. The Leafs won 3 straight from 1962 to 1964, led by future Hall of Famers Frank Mahovlich, Tim Horton, Dave Keon, Andy Bathgate, Red Kelly, and Johnny Bower, as well as coach and GM Punch Imlach. In 1967, the team faced the heavily favored Montreal team, but went on to win the series in 6 games. Dave Keon won the Conn Smythe Trophy, handed out to the playoffs MVP. From there, it was all downhill. Despite a roster that included Borje Salming, Lanny McDonald, and Darryl Sittler, the team went nowhere during the 1970s. Things went from bad to worse in '79 with the return of Imlach as general manager. He would go on to trade the popular McDonald and the club's longtime leading scorer, Sittler, who still holds the record for most points in a game with 10. Sittler's all-time Leaf scoring record was only broken in 2007 by then-captain Matt Sundin. The 1980s were a bleak period, though their poor record did help the club land high draft picks, including the popular Wendell Clark. The club had nowhere to go but up, and it did. The Leafs hired Calgary Flames GM Cliff Fletcher, who had won the Cup in 1989. He groomed draft picks, signed free agents, and traded to improve his team.
And it's Sutter! Score! The Leafs have tied the game! Gilmore has scored!
But despite players like Doug Gilmour and Félix Potvin, the best the team mustered was a semi-final exit against Wayne Gretzky's LA Kings in 1993. Throughout the Leafs' history, the team has won 13 championships, including 11 Stanley Cups, coming second only to the Montreal Canadiens. Today, the Leafs play their games at the Air Canada Centre and count their loyal fans as their strongest asset. Dubbed Leafs Nation, the faithful remain devoted no matter how their team plays.
Open up the shot right on, the rebound scores! Kessel right on the doorstep.